In the darkness of the night, as the scent of evil fills the air, innocent children are mysteriously taken by an unknown hand into the depths of the cursed mountains. There lies a dark secret, a sorcerer practicing strange rituals and sinister forces surrounding an ancient doll, a doll that may be the key to their salvation or their doom. What will happen when the wise man confronts the king of demons in a battle where only whispers of terror can be heard? Welcome to your channel, Horror Stories. If this is your first time watching my channel, I hope you'll support me by subscribing so we can reach 1,000 subscribers. Press the like button if you enjoy the video, and leave a comment to let us know which country you're watching from. And now, let's begin our story. In a small village far from the eyes of people, a small family was known for owning an old doll called Emily. It was said that the doll was a family heirloom, over 100 years old. It was made of coarse cloth with black glass eyes that gleamed in the dark, making it frightening to anyone who looked at it. The grandmother always told her grandchildren that Emily was not an ordinary doll. There were rumors that it had been cursed years ago after a witch used it for revenge. It was said that the doll would wake up at night and that no one should stare into its eyes for too long, as whoever did would be haunted by fear for many nights. One dark night, the family left the house for a short trip, leaving behind Ellen, the 7-year-old girl, who was sick and unable to join them. Before leaving, the grandmother warned Ellen not to touch or go near the doll. But Ellen's curiosity led her to look at the doll when she was alone in the room. That night, Ellen heard slow footsteps approaching her room, faint sounds like strange whispers coming from somewhere in the house. She looked from under her blanket and saw something moving in the darkness. Emily was standing at the door of the room, her glass eyes staring at her steadily. The doll moved slowly toward the bed, and the whispers grew clearer. Ellen was paralyzed with fear, unable to scream or move. She felt a cold hand touch her shoulder, and at that moment she sensed a heavy presence around her. She closed her eyes and recited the prayers she remembered. When she opened her eyes, the doll was gone, but the mysterious laughter still filled the room. In a small village far from the eyes of people, a small family was known for owning an old doll called Emily. It was said that the doll was a family heirloom, over 100 years old. It was made of coarse cloth with black glass eyes that gleamed in the dark, making it frightening to anyone who looked at it. The grandmother always told her grandchildren that Emily was not an ordinary doll. There were rumors that it had been cursed years ago after a witch used it for revenge. It was said that the doll would wake up at night and that no one should stare into its eyes for too long, as whoever did would be haunted by fear for many nights. One dark night, the family left the house for a short trip, leaving behind Ellen, the 7-year-old girl, who was sick and unable to join them. Before leaving, the grandmother warned Ellen not to touch or go near the doll. But Ellen's curiosity led her to look at the doll when she was alone in the room. That night, Ellen heard slow footsteps approaching her room, faint sounds like strange whispers coming from somewhere in the house. She looked from under her blanket and saw something moving in the darkness. Emily was standing at the door of the room, her glass eyes staring at her steadily. The doll moved slowly toward the bed, and the whispers grew clearer. Ellen was paralyzed with fear, unable to scream or move. She felt a cold hand touch her shoulder, and at that moment she sensed a heavy presence around her. She closed her eyes and recited the prayers she remembered. When she opened her eyes, the doll was gone, but the mysterious laughter still filled the room. But the father, with a sad and torn voice, replied, "I also lost my niece in the same way years ago, and she never returned. I don't know what's happening." Suddenly, a stranger from one of the neighboring villages entered. His name was Victor, and he seemed angry and tense. Victor quickly said, "In our village, we did not find her. We searched everywhere, but nothing. We cannot stay silent about this. We must find her. I also lost my son in the same way, 4 years ago." The mother began crying intensely, saying, "I want my daughter. Search for her. Maybe that doll is the reason. I'll burn it." Her eyes were filled with tears, and she had fallen into a state of panic. Then the wise man said to the girl's father, "Your wife, what does she mean by the doll?" The father looked at him and said, "It's just an old doll we have in the house. Nothing special about it, but it reminds us of our family." The wise man disliked dolls and the hanging of pictures in homes, as such things could house spirits and demons. He calmly said, "It's better not to keep such things in homes. They bring no benefit and can harbor evil forces." The girl's father replied, "It's just a very old doll, a family keepsake. It belonged to my grandfather, who won it in one of the competitions held in the village at that time." The wise man firmly said, "A doll is still a doll, even if it's made of the finest materials." The father took a deep breath as he trusted and respected the wise man. He said to him, "All right, I'll throw it away. I asked my eldest son to get rid of it." Then he turned to his son and said, "Bring it here so the wise man can see it first, then dispose of it." The son went to get the doll, and when he brought it to where the wise man was standing, the doll was very old. It was made of worn cloth, and its glass eyes had faded over time. It was an unusual doll, and as soon as the son placed it before the wise man, the doll's face turned towards him, a strange occurrence. In that moment, the doll's glass eyes shattered, and suddenly, a deep and terrifying voice emerged from within it, as if the demon inside had begun to speak. The demon screamed in a voice full of fear, saying, "He's the one who ordered me to take the girl. It wasn't me. He forced me." The demon's voice was trembling with fear of the wise man. The demon realized that the wise man had discovered his secret and knew that this moment would be his end. He started screaming hysterically, believing that the wise man would kill or burn him. This fear led the demon to confess quickly, terrified of the wise man, who had the power to destroy him simply by speaking words of power. Then the man from the nearby villages said, "Even my son had those marks on his hand, and my wife used to say that he sometimes played with an old doll placed in an old wooden box, but I had never seen it before." The wise man said to him, "Go and bring that doll." The man felt scared and refused, so the wise man replied, "We will go and bring it together. Do not be afraid." At that moment, the demon said in a pleading voice, "I will give you all the information you need and all the secrets. Just don't burn me. I was forced to do all this, and I promise I will never harm anyone again. I will be good and leave this town." The wise man looked at him sharply and said, "It's not that easy. You killed innocent children." The demon quickly responded, "No, there was a demon before me who kidnapped the niece of the father of the girl I took, and I haven't killed anyone. The girl is still alive." The wise man asked, "Are you telling the truth?" The demon replied, "Yes, and I promise you that I will stay away from any evil that harms people." The wise man said, "Then swear that you will leave this village and never return." The demon replied, "I swear, by God, I will leave the village soon and will not return." The wise man responded, "You gave me your word. Now, get out of the doll and leave." The doll began to move slightly, then stopped, and everyone realized the demon had left. The wise man said, "Burn this doll, for it is now empty." They then went to get the other doll, but they found it empty, as the demon that had inhabited it had left after kidnapping the child, realizing that the man had only one child, and that his wife was old and unable to have another child with the traits needed by the sorcerer. They began to plan to go to the abandoned mountain to rescue the girl. As the demon had told them, the sorcerer practiced his magic at midnight inside a cave there. The wise man, along with the father of the girl and the man from the neighboring village, set out, carrying what they needed for the night journey. Each man carried a knife, and the wise man carried a bottle of water and a knife as well. As they left, the father of the girl tripped and fell, injuring his foot badly. He tried to continue the journey but couldn't, so the wise man and the other man proceeded alone. After they had traveled halfway, the man from the neighboring village said, "I need to relieve myself. You go ahead and I will catch up." The wise man continued slowly, but after a while, he noticed the man had not caught up. He waited, but he had disappeared into the darkness of the forest. The wise man decided to continue on alone, walking slowly with his staff, the water bottle hanging by his side and his knife hidden nearby. When he approached the abandoned cave, he began to see a faint light coming from inside. He felt for his knife but didn't find it. He looked up at the sky and thought to himself, I have lived for 120 years, and that is enough for me. If this is my end, I will die for the innocent children who never lived to see 20 years. He then took steady steps toward the dark cave, filled with a foul smell and lit by burning candles. Suddenly, a tall man appeared before him, wearing black clothes with long hair and nails, and a foul odor emanating from his body. He wore a black crown resembling deer horns, from which smoke rose. This was the king of demons, and he had a boldness no other demon had, so he was not afraid of the wise man. The wise man slowly raised his head and realized he was facing the king of demons. The king of demons moved swiftly, trying to seize the wise man, but he discovered he couldn't touch him, as if the wise man was protected within a bubble. The demon tried many times, but the wise man said nothing. Instead, he took out the water bottle, drank a little, then poured some water into his hand and sprinkled it on the demon. As soon as the water touched him, half of the demon's body began to melt like volcanic lava. The demon quickly retreated and disappeared, but the wise man spoke only words from the sacred book over the water, which was enough to weaken the demon. The wise man began searching the cave and found the child and the girl bound, their hands stained with blood, as the sorcerer had been draining their blood to offer to the king of demons. The wise man began to untie the children, but suddenly the sorcerer appeared from behind, trying to stab him with a knife. However, an unseen force pulled the sorcerer and slammed him violently against the wall, shattering his body and leaving only blood on the wall. The wise man discovered that the demon who had inhabited the doll was the one who had saved him, and he took the form of a man and said to him, I was the one who inhabited the doll, and I know you may need my help. I promised you I would leave this town soon, but before I go, I wanted to return the favor. The wise man said to him, I have forgiven you, and the girl's family will forgive you. I only have one request: demolish this cave completely. In a flash, the demon destroyed the cave, and nothing remained of the mountain. Then, the elder brother of the child, whose father had been injured at the beginning of the journey, appeared, revealing that the sorcerer had been the one to bind them, and that the child had helped him in freeing them. The children were taken back to their village. Thank you for watching this thrilling story until the end. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to receive all the latest horror stories. Be sure to like and leave a comment with your thoughts on the story and ideas for new ones. Thank you again for your support, and see you soon in more terrifying stories. Goodbye.